great. We're watching you. So I leave the chairs free, so you are the only one on the screen, and everybody is watching and listening. Thank you for being here.
So you're all ready to begin?
Yes.
Fine, I'll get going.
Welcome. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you virtually, if not in person. I'm going to give a brief introduction to the palms, the fantastic palm flora of New Guinea. And this is a joint presentation by myself and Bill Baker from Kew and the Palms of New Guinea team, and that will be explained as we go along. If we look at the whole world of where palm diversity hotspots are, there's a very clear hotspot in Madagascar and in South America and in what we call the Milesian region, which is the area from New Guinea all the way to mainland Asia. And New Guinea is there in the middle of it. The island is the largest tropical island. It's 2,500 kilometers. We're going too fast. Not quite sure what to do about that. Oops. Well, no matter. The landscape is quite extraordinary, consisting of vast lowland areas covered in tropical rainforest. There are uplands at high altitude with grasslands that are subjected to frost. And then in the Indonesian part of the island, there are huge mountains with one of the last, the last glacier in Southeast Asia. This is on Mount Jaya. A recent study has shown that New Guinea has the greatest plant diversity of any island in the world. And the newspaper headline said it edges out Madagascar. I think maybe it would have been better to say edges out Borneo, because I suspect Borneo is richer than Madagascar. Nevertheless, New Guinea has been shown to be the most plant diverse area in the world. And if we compare palm diversity, New Guinea has 250 species in 34 genera. Borneo has more species in 302. If we'd done this analysis 10 years ago, then Borneo would have been at the top with the same number of genera, but recent taxonomic research has seen the disappearance of several Bornean rattan genera. This palm diversity is actually quite different if we compare Borneo and New Guinea. New Guinea is astonishing for the diversity of large tree palms, whereas in Borneo the number of tree palms is much less, and much of the diversity is taken up with the rattan palms. These vast areas of forest are seriously under threat. On the left-hand side, we can see land clearance for commercial agriculture, in this case, almost suddenly for palm oil. And on the right, the development of roads opens up the forest to uncontrolled land clearance and logging. And let's also remember that those wonderful tropical glaciers that we saw are seriously under threat from climate change, are disappearing at a very rapid rate. Well, the Palms of New Guinea project began way back in 1995 when Scott Zona and I were waiting for a plane to travel back from New Guinea to Britain, and Palms of Madagascar had just gone to press, and we thought, where's the next best place? Let's dream up a Palms of New Guinea project. Well, it was easier said than done. We assembled a team of palm botanists interested in the Palms of New Guinea. And in the middle, we can see Lucy Smith, the botanical artist who worked with us. The team consisted of authors who actually wrote accounts Bill Baker, Annis Barford, Rodrigo Camara Leret, John Doe, Charlie Hatterman, Peter Pito, Jessica Dunn, and Scott Zona, and myself. But there were also a lot of collaborators who were botanists interested in palms, who either joined us in the field or contributed substantially their knowledge. And as I mentioned earlier, the illustrator Lucy Smith. In 2000, we had a special issue of the Palm Journal, Palms, devoted to the palms from New Guinea. And we had a general introduction in which we said, we expect to publish the palms from New Guinea towards the end of 2004. 2004 came, nothing had happened. 2005, I retired. We all had different agendas to follow. And eventually, it wasn't until this year, 2024, that the book was finally published. A lot of field work was carried out in the interim, but these are areas where we did recent field work, and you can see what an enormous part of New Guinea has not been covered specifically for palms. Nevertheless, there are general collections from all over the island. Palm collecting is hard work. New Guinea is particularly hard and also can be rather unrewarding. If we go into a forest in Sarawak and Borneo, we can expect to see up to 50 or even more palms in a day. In New Guinea, you may come into an area and spend the whole day and not see more than about 10 palms. So you need to cover a lot of ground, and it's hard work. In the herbarium, we accessed nearly 4,000 specimens globally, of which over 1,000 were collected by the Palms of New Guinea team. Palms of New Guinea, PONG, an affectionate acronym. And on the right-hand side, we can see Peter Pito from Denmark examining specimens of Hydriastole. We were, however, building on our taxonomic forefathers, of which two made outstanding contributions. The first, and really my hero, Eduardo Beccari from Florence, actually collected in New Guinea and did major monographs of the rattans and of ericoid palms, coryphoid palms, and of the palms he described, 90 names that he published are still accepted. Max Barrett was very prolific, based in Berlin. The most terrible part of all that was that the Allied forces bombed Berlin and in so doing destroyed the herbarium. And many, many types were lost, collections of Clemens, Leidman and Meyer, on which New Guinea palm names were based. And it's been quite a detective job to try and work out what palms, current palms, actually Barrett's names need to be applied to. During the research work, we published a wide suite of scientific papers, field guides, etc. And in the end, we recognized 250 species. Of these, 123 new names were published since 1998, with 79 new species, 3 new genera, 45 new combinations, important new combinations in Calibricalyx, Hydriastole, and Cerebus, and 31% of the total were new species. You may wonder how all these figures match up, but of course, in doing the taxonomic research, we sank a lot of previously described species. What else came out of the project? Well, over 35 publications, field guides, the huge legacy of approximately 250 plates exquisitely prepared by Lucy Smith. And perhaps The most significant legacy has been in capacity building, training, pure and applied. Several of our colleagues obtained postgraduate qualifications, infrastructure projects in improving the herbarium, for example, in New Guinea, and ongoing collaborations and friendships. So if we plot the palm flora of New Guinea on the palm tree of life, of the 5 subfamilies, 4 are represented in New Guinea. Only the Ceroxyloideae is not represented. It's interesting that there is a member of the Ceroxyloideae in Queensland, just over the Torres Strait, Oreneopsis, but that does not get into New Guinea. But you can see the greatest diversity in genera is in the ericoid palms. The largest number of species in any genus is in Calamus, in the calamoid palms. So a quick look at Calamus, 411 species worldwide, recently expanded with the demise of Democeratholobus pogonotium and Rhetus batha, and there are 62 species in New Guinea, 34 of which were new species described since 2002. These are horrible plants. You can see why collecting them may be really dreadful. They're, of course, the source of cane for cane furniture, but New Guinea has not proven to be a very active centre of rattan collecting yet, but as areas west of New Guinea are depleted, I see that rattan harvesting will increase in New Guinea. The only other rattan genus in New Guinea is the genus Cortalsia, very speciose in Borneo with over 25 species. In New Guinea, a single species, Cortalsia zipilii, very beautiful with its diamond-shaped leaflets. The major staple palm in New Guinea is the genus Metroxylon, and Metroxylon sagu is the source of sago, which supports the life of many of the indigenous people on the island. There are 2 species in New Guinea. The trunks are felled, and then the pith is carved out of the centre and then washed in water, which we can see on the right, and the starch accumulates. The starch is cooked to form a gloopy mess, which is very much like paper hangers paste we use for papering wallpaper. It is pretty tasteless, and it's often served with a thin fish soup, which we can see in the bowl behind. And this is immensely important for the people of New Guinea. On the right, we can see dried sago products, so sago can also be dried. With very little effort, a family can sustain itself from the harvesting of sago trunks. And this is a permanent crop that doesn't need to be replanted. There's immense carbon sequestration going on in the sago swamps. And altogether, if only it was good to eat for European palates, it would be a miracle crop. Another genus, one of my favourite of all palm genera in the calamoids, is Pigafetta pilaris, an extremely rapidly growing pioneer tree with these elegant crowns of curled leaves. On to the next subfamily, the Nipa fruticans, the mangrove palm, occurs in huge, vast natural stands across the lowlands of New Guinea, bordering the sea. Its importance for carbon sequestration, for coastal erosion prevention, for as a breeding ground for marine life, cannot be overestimated. This is a very, very important palm. The potential for harvesting sugar from sago, from Nipa has been explored in the past, but is commercially seriously challenged by access. On to the coryphoid palms, and we have three major lines represented. The first comprises Livistona, and these two species occur in New Guinea. They're basically palms from Australia that creep into the very dry southern edge of the island. More important from a species point of view is the genus Lequala, very distinctive with its wedge-shaped leaflets, usually occurring in the forest undergrowth, and there is great diversity, 26 species and probably more. They include rather massive species with among the largest fruits in the genus, which can be up to 7 centimeters in diameter, and have highly sculptured hard endocarps, which I think we can see on the right-hand side at the top. And these fruits seem to be dispersed by cassowaries, the large ratite birds. Saribus, the genus, was relatively recently extracted from Livistona based on molecular evidence, and there is every reason to believe that this is a very distinct evolutionary line. There are 7 species in New Guinea, of which I think 5 were recently described. Borassus, the Palmyra palm, largely restricted to dry and semi-arid areas of the world in Africa and Asia, has one rainforest species in New Guinea, Borassus hainianus. Fruits of Borassus hainianus have been found in the dung of cassowaries, so it seems that this large fruited palm is also distributed by cassowaries. Caryota, 2 species in New Guinea, including the massive Caryota rumphiana, which is very common, widespread throughout New Guinea and the Moluccas, and then the very rare, restricted Caryota zebrina with its tiger-striped petioles, very distinct, closely related to another species, Caryota ophiopellis, in Vanuatu. And the last of the coryphoid palms is the genus Corypha itself. I believe an individual of Corypha flowered in the Palmetum relatively recently. This one is Corypha rutan, which is widespread from India all the way through to Queensland, occurring in dry forest along behind the beach. Onto the ericoid palms, and there's a substantial diversity in the genus Aurania in New Guinea. Aurania is a very interesting genus from a geographical point of view because there are 3 species in Madagascar, 19 species in New Guinea, and then a few species in the Malaysian region up to Asia, where a single species, Aurania macrocladus, Aurania silvicola, occurs. Generally, these are big forest palms with interesting remote germination, quite distinctive inflorescence in Aurania regalis, and another example, Aurania lauterbachiana. Sommieria is an endemic genus, highly prized by palm growers, palm enthusiasts, distinctive leaves, usually undivided, sometimes divided, but these curious fruit, which look like cheese, a snack called cheesy puffs. Very strange fruit. Closest relative is the Western Pacific genus Pelagodoxa. Areca, which includes the beetle-nut palm, 5 species in New Guinea, including Areca macrocalyx, which is perplexingly variable, so much so that many species have been described in the past. Areca catechu, the beetle palm, is culturally very important in New Guinea. And it's interesting that in New Guinea, rather than the leaf of Piper betuli being used in the chewing process, it's the inflorescences of Piper betuli. And here we can see not quite ripe fruits of Areca catechu on sale, together with the sausage-like Piper betuli inflorescences. There's just one species of Pinanga in Borneo, in New Guinea, Pinanga rumphiana. Compare that with Borneo, which has probably 40 species. And then two genera which are very distinctive in New Guinea, tiny undergrowth palms of the forest undergrowth. Linus badix, a single species in New Guinea, and 6 species in Australia. Calyptricalyx, on the other hand, is more or less confined to New Guinea, with 26 species, and 1 species also occurring in the Moluccas. These are generally highly perplexing undergrowth palms with very variable leaves, and I had the horrible job of trying to sort out the taxonomy for the book, and I'm afraid I'm not terribly confident in the result. Hydriastole has proved to be very interesting, monographed by Peter Pito and colleagues. This genus also includes previously described genera Gronophyllum and, gosh, I can't think of them all rapidly enough, Cyphogentia, etc. Some species are very tall rainforest canopy palms. Hydriastole costata deserves to be widely cultivated. It's a gorgeous palm. You very rarely see it. Newly described Hydriastole biacensis. The man on the left is Charlie Hiattabun, a colleague in New Guinea, who's now highly influential professor in the university there and an advisor to the provincial government. Hydriastole Dransfieldii was initially described in the genus Cyphogentia, but Cyphogentia has proven to be untenable. And Hydriastole also includes some gorgeous ornamentals, such as Hydriastole splendida. And it also includes one rheophytic palm. It was the great Italian botanist Beccari who emphasized the significance of rheophytes. Rheophytes are plants that grow on the banks of fast-flowing rivers, and they often display characteristics that help them survive flooding. And they usually have many stems, can regenerate easily, and very narrow leaflets, which present little resistance to floodwaters. So this is Hydriastole symbiaci, recently described. Very pretty flowers, very attractive. And then if we go to the next genus I'm mentioning, the genus Heterospathe, that also includes 2 rheophytes. And here we can see on the right, Heterospathe mcgregori, looking very similar indeed to Hydriastole. And yet these 2 genera are completely unrelated. Also, Heterospathe also has tree palms and forest undergrowth palms without emergent stems. Most species of Heterospathe don't have a crown shaft. I'm sure you all know what the crown shaft is. The crown shaft, don't know whether I can point to it. This is this tight cluster of leaf sheaths borne at the top of the stem. Heterospathe are mostly absent, but 2 species, Heterospathe glauca and Heterospathe barfodii, have crown shafts. Barfodii was widely cultivated under glauca, but glauca occurs in the Moluccas. Barfodii is strictly in New Guinea. Next genus to be mentioned, Rhopaloblastis ceramica, Rhopaloblasti, with 3 species in New Guinea, including ceramica, which is also in the Moluccas. There must have been a wide distribution of this genus, of this species, from tropical botanic gardens last century, 2 centuries ago, because it's been quite widespread in gardens, but rather few recent additions. genus is very distinctive in the inflorescence, where the branches are coiled like intestines in bud. And here we can see in the middle the coiled inflorescence branches in Hydroploblastys ceramica. Ceratostachys, many of you will be utterly familiar with the sealing wax palm Ceratostachys lacca, which is a palm of peat swamp forest in Sumatra, Borneo, and the Malay Peninsula, and is the only species to occur west of Wallace's Line. East of Wallace's Line, there is a diversity, and 6 species occurring in New Guinea. They're all large canopy palms, mostly single-stemmed, with slender crown shafts, generally very beautiful palms. This was newly described Ceratostachys excelsa with spectacular red-tinged inflorescences. The most complicated group within New Guinea at the generic level is the Teichospermatini, and these will be familiar to many palm growers because it includes Teichosperma, Wardietia from Queensland, Veitchia from the Western Pacific, and Adonidia, this is Adonidia marillii from the Philippines. In New Guinea, we have Teichococcus with a couple of species. Here we can see Teichococcus lepidosus. On the right is the wonderful genus Brassiophoenix with Brassiophoenix trimifloioides with extraordinary 3 to 5 cusped leaflets. You don't often see this in cultivation. On the left, Teichosperma itself, Teichosperma propinquum, and a related genus, Drimophlieus oliviformis. Newly described in a very beautiful and exciting palm, the genus Mangekia, first described as a new species of Adonidia, Adonidia matabongzii, just occurs in Biak, which is an island off the north coast of the western part of New Guinea. It's a solitary, moderate palm with pendulous broad leaflets with white inflorescences and terete endocarp. This deserves to be widely grown. It's a really fabulous palm. And another new genus, Wallaciodoxa, which occurs on 2 small islands, Gag and Waigeo. This is in the Raja Ampat Islands, which are famous among scuba divers as having some of the best coral in the world. But these small islands have large outcrops of limestone and also ultramafic rock. And Wallaciodoxa seems to be confined to ultramafic rock, very narrow distribution, and named Wallaciodoxa Raja Ampat after the Raja Ampat Islands. Now we come to the big mystery. And this little palm occurs in the western part of the island. And it was some time before it could be matched with any name. And what it seems to be is this palm, first collected by the great Eduardo Beccari in Ramoy in the western part of New Guinea. And here we can see the label, collected in June 1872 by Eduardo Beccari. And this is a photograph of the specimens in the herbarium in Firenze. Well, botanists disagree. The first thing is, if you look at Teichosperma micranthum, the leaflet tips are not fishtail, as all other members of Teichospermatini. So people started moving, palm botanists started to disagree. What could it be? Beccari said Teichosperma micranthum. Hooker, in his Genera Palmarum, decided it didn't belong to Teichosperma at all, but belonged to the genus Rhoploblasty. Then along came Harold Moore in 1970 and moved it to the genus Heterospathi. And I have to emphasize that all these decisions were based basically on those very few herbarium specimens collected by Beccari. So we needed a modern analysis. And the molecular analysis clearly showed that the palm, which is actually called Dransfield here, and I'll come on to that in a minute, doesn't belong anywhere near to Tychosperma, so it had to be excluded from Tychosperma. It certainly didn't belong in Heterospathy, neither did it belong in Rhabdoloblasty, and represented its own evolutionary line. And the authors of the study decided to name it after me, of which I have to say I'm really rather proud. And this is a photograph taken of me planting it in the palm house in Kew way back on my retirement. I'm sorry to say that that palm died within 6 months, indicating what a poor horticulturalist I am. And there is Dransfield micrantha growing in the forest in West New Guinea with Rudy Matabongs, a local botanist, in front. So what's conservation status of these palms? Well, we have evidence to suggest that one of the species of Tychosperma is probably extinct in the wild, Tychosperma sanderianum. And we think that probably 50 species are critically endangered, and 30 are endangered, 10 vulnerable, 15 near threatened, and 109 least concern. But a very large number, 15%, we have insufficient data to suggest what status they have. We must also remember from that first map I showed of the distribution of collections, what a huge area of New Guinea has never been collected for palms. So in many ways, these assessments are highly suspect. So finally to the book. And I had hoped that there were 2 copies already with you, but I checked the courier information this morning, and apparently they're still waiting somewhere in Tenerife for customs clearance before being delivered. We finally published it this year, and this gives you a flavour of what the book actually looks like. Here we can see one of Lucy Smith's exquisite drawings, distribution maps and photographs. So what next beyond the book? We're hoping that, as with palms from Madagascar, there was renewed interest in the palm flora of the island, and there will be more and more exploration as areas become more accessible. Data from the palms of New Guinea will gradually accumulate in the global palm phylogeny, refining what we know about the evolution of palms. And we'll also know more about conservation of the palms. So I want to thank Palms of New Guinea team, the field collaborators who worked so hard with us in the field, collectors past and present, Lucy for her exquisite drawings, and funding we received from various sources. And finally, very special thanks and an apology. My sincerest thanks to the Palmetum for the opportunity to present this talk about the palms of New Guinea. And my great regret and apology that due to ill health, I've been unable to present the talk in person. Best wishes for the success of the New Guinea section of the Palmetum. Thank you very much.
John, thank you so much. Everybody's clapping his hands. We have 1 copy of the book here. I being lucky that one of us, Kevin Carracedo, brought one because he just got one from the shop. So I'm showing the book to the people, and your books will hopefully be here soon. You know, the customs.
Still can't hear.
Customs here are a bit tricky, so they always on delay. So thank you again to John, and maybe some of you has some questions. Tenemos algunas preguntas para John que lo tenemos en línea, quizás. There you go. Kevin, who's one of your admirers, is the guy who I've just put the pictures on 2011 where you were signing the book to Kevin. Kevin is asking, oh, when are you coming? We all hope to see you here at some point. Thank you so much. We have one copy of the book here.
It's arrived.
One of us, Kevin Carracedo, who knows you from your other visit, had bought it just some times ago, and he brought it, so I'm showing the book to everybody. Your lecture was wonderful, as expected, of course, and there's an enormous effort in doing this. 10 years you took to finish the book, and more or less 10 years we took to finish the new area, which we will see soon. Now, I'm asking for questions. Yes, if you want to watch John, maybe, because the camera is there. Put on the light. Yes, it's better. Everybody's waving and clapping the hands. And
yes.
We have one question from Kevin and from all of us, which is, when will you come? We want to see you here around.
As soon as I get over my current problems,
Great.
we will try to come. I must say I have a very strong affection for the Palmetum. I think it's the most amazing place.
Yes, please, you're one of us. We are all waiting for your visit, so I hope your health comes back quickly, and in question of weeks or months, we might have a visit and plant a different palms, not in New Guinea, who knows, but it'd be absolutely great to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Nos despedimos, creo, de John. Si no hay más preguntas, que cuando viene, que no puede dar una fecha, lógicamente, pero ganas tiene, se ve vinculado al Palmetum, pues si les parece, nos despedimos con otro aplauso, no sé. Sí.